3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday's Dennis and Andy show. But man, are we throwing you a curveball today. Normally, we'd be showing you all the comic books from Fantastic New Comic Wednesday. I already started. I think I got 15 of the quick flips done already today and posted. And we would go through all of our reviews. But this is a special Wednesday. Why, you may ask? Because Aaron Lopresti is joining us because he has launched his incredible new comic book on Indiegogo. So everybody, welcome Aaron, and Andy will be joining us soon.
I guess I'm co-hosting today then.
You are. Look at that. We get on the big screen. This is the first time.
And I'd like to congratulate you on getting your name in front of Andy's on the show. And it's an Andy show. I think that's pretty good. So
you know that took a lot of work, right? Yeah. Andy's on another live stream right now. He should be finishing up, and I think they might have been running a bit long. And so he goes, just kick it. I'll join you guys as soon as I'm able to in a few minutes. So he will be joining us shortly. But in the meantime, tell us a little bit about Wraith of God, because I pulled it up earlier this morning, and you were over 56,000.
Yeah, it seems to be trending really well right now, and people keep jumping on. Of course, I'm sure some of that's fueled by the negative attention I've been getting, but you know what they say: any publicity is good publicity, right? So. But I have a tremendous amount of fan support out there, or as I like to call, partnerships. Because when you're doing these Indiegogos, these are your investors, these are your partners, and I just thrilled to have the support that I've had from not only the Comicsgate community, but also just people that support comics, people that support me, people that support the independent comics movement. So it's just been widespread, and it's been really great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we were just talking about the independents, and we had Mandy Summers on the other night, and that was cool because I've seen her in some of the live streams on Comicsgate once in a while, but I actually didn't know her whole story. So I mean, she actually really came up in Comicsgate, and I'm finding it just very interesting. What a great community this really is.
Not bad for a hate group, really, if you think about it.
Right. I remember when Andy was kind of kicking it around and stuff, because he goes, there was a lot of good creators, and he had walked up to me one day and he goes, do you know anything about Comicsgate? And I'm like, nope, don't know anything about it. I've heard the name, but that's about it. And he said, kind of go check things out and see what your thoughts are. So I started watching people's live streams, and the pros and the cons, the people who didn't like them. It all seemed to focus on an incident from a while back. Yeah. And regardless of how you took that one particular incident, it seemed like a group just kind of went after, and anybody that says anything Comicsgate, instantly you're labeled with all of this hate stuff. And I said, what I found interesting is I started digging into it. Mm-hmm. On all the channels. I don't see any of this hate stuff. As a matter of fact, it's just the opposite. I noticed that everybody was willing to help everybody. Hey, I need a letter. Or, hey, I need help with this. How do you do this? Everybody was trying to lend a helping hand so that everybody could put out a better product with helpful suggestions and help from a community at large. And yep. I mean, if you're going to combat the big two, Marvel and DC, I mean, that's a great way to do it. So, I am thrilled, that I get to see all this great content that's coming out and things that probably wouldn't have seen the light of day if it was just really, if it was Marvel, DC, and Image.
No, that's true. And Marvel and DC are doing a great job of helping us compete with them, because a lot of the product that they're putting out is not what a lot of people like or are happy with, for a variety of reasons. And so I think that's really sort of opened the door. It kind of reminds me a little bit back in the late 80s, when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just popped up and became this sort of overnight sensation. And then you had this kind of birth of the independent movement. And it was kind of a golden age there for indie comics for a while, and they sort of drifted away because it was that black and white movement and everything like that. You're a collector. You probably have a copy of Turtles #1 someplace, fifth printing or something, right?
I did.
I used to have a Tick #1. I wish I still had that. But yeah, so it looks like there's an opportunity for that to happen again. Obviously, the marketplace is a little bit different now. How you approach funding and how you approach getting your comic produced is a little bit different. Back then it was just a matter of, well, I might have to suck it up and, write pencil and ink this thing myself. And, in my spare time while I do my day job. And then you find a publisher who's willing to put up the money to publish it and get it in stores. Now we have to do everything, We're in charge of the creative content, whether we do everything ourselves or maybe we bring in a couple people to work with to get the creative content done. We're also the promoters. We're also the salesmen. We're also the publisher, and so we have to deal with all the printing hassles and all that kind of stuff. So it becomes, instead of just, hey, I'm a comic book artist or I'm a comic book writer or a comic book creator, it becomes this is my new business. And I was having kind of a lengthy off-air conversation with Ethan Van Sciver last night, just about, his approach and how it's worked for him. And, he's like, this is a full-time business now. It's not just, I don't just get to draw comics anymore. Live streaming and all this other stuff is all part of it now. And it's really sort of a shock to your system when you first jump into it, right? Because you think, well, I'm going to do my own book. I really want to do my own book. And then you start realizing that, well, I just can't go out there and do my own book. It's not that easy. You have to spend, a great amount of time making yourself visible to your audience so that you have potential buyers or backers that when you actually do launch your book, they're there, and that's a time-consuming process, and it involves a lot of jumping around to different streams and a lot of promotion on social media and everything else. And so it's been a learning experience for me for sure. And I'm really thrilled and surprised at how well the book is doing right now. And I don't know that what I expected. You always hope it's going to do well, right? I mean, that's your expectation. You don't go in going, man, I hope I fail. But you don't really know what that looks like. You've seen people have just like remarkably successful campaigns and other people not so much. And it's, and it's kind of like, is it, you try to figure out what factors worked together in the right way for the ones that are successful, right? There's some name recognition. How much of it is content? How much of it is name recognition? How much is it a really nice video? How much of it is some really cool cover art? How much of it is reputation? I mean, there's just so many factors and you can't control a lot of that stuff. So you just hope that, when you start putting everything together in a big stew, that it comes out tasty.
Right. You are in essence a publisher. I mean, you are a publisher like Dark Horse, like Image, where you're not only just creating a book, you now have to publish that book and you've got to get the word out there, which means you have to do all the other functions that maybe the big companies kind of took care of a lot of that for you.
Yeah, and it becomes fatiguing too, because I can't tell you how little work I've actually done the past 2 weeks, the week building up to the launch and then this week of the launch. right? Because you're like, you get up in the morning, and you get up early, you think, well, okay, I can get some drawing done, and then I'll do this, that, other thing. By the time you answer emails, you go, well, I got to post, I got to put up posts all over social media, right? I better live stream today. I can't be off the air too long because I'm trying to promote this thing. So then you factor in your live stream, right? And then you get done with that, and then you got to go to the grocery store for your get home stuff you got to do, and pretty soon the day is gone, and you haven't done anything except promote. So,
Yep. Well, obviously your promotion's working. I missed your launch that night. I was trying to get back home and launch it for your live launch. And by the time I got back, it was kind of over. But that's cool. I wound up doing it. Hey, Pop Culture. So we got Daniel on the line. We got Hyper Kaiju, who posted the links already. So for anybody who's just joining, you can hop in and take a look. But no, so I'm glad. Like I said, woke up the next morning and I'm like, all right, what did I miss last night? Got the computer out there and I went and backed it because I mean it's fantastic. It's just it's a fantastic looking premise, a book. So I was very excited to see, because the very next morning when I hopped on, all I did was open up Indiegogo. You were front page.
Yeah, I was very excited. And but let me ask you a question. You're a collector, much like myself.
Yeah.
So looking at this independent market, when these books have, in terms of the big picture, really limited print runs, right?
Yes.
Even more so than, the Turtles books and stuff back in the day that would have just incredibly low print runs, in the thousands. Now you're looking at books that maybe your print run is, even on Ethan's, who's like ultra successful, right? His first Cyberfrog is 8,000 copies, right? Or whatever it is, right? Yep. And, guys like me, wherever it ends up, you might have 1,500 copies out there or 2,000 copies or something in that. Do you look at these as a potential fertile market for collecting?
I do. There was a point where I was going to say that I didn't. Honestly, if you took the old me 5-6 years ago, I picked up an occasional, independent and stuff like that. But even at that time, I was focused in on the Marvel Universe, the X-Men stuff. The Avengers movies were going incredible. So everybody was more speculating on what is the brand new, a character that's going to get introduced into a Marvel movie. Therefore, that becomes the big collectible item that everybody was going at. DC was doing it. Marvel was doing it. And that's really where the focus was. We're seeing a shift, especially in the last few years. You take a look at Marvel, that's now going through Penguin, for distribution. You've got DC, who also left. There's issues in the distribution market that's going out there. There's a lot of uneasiness, maybe the best way to put it, in terms of the content that Marvel and DC are putting out. So you're starting to see all of this large group of fans splinter and start moving from, area to area they're testing. Some of them are going manga, some of them are going independent. And now what we're starting to see even at the shows is we're starting to see people that'll come up there and say, okay, here's a cool looking independent book. And by the way, Netflix has decided they're going to option, this or option that, or we're going to do a TV series on this. Hyper Kaiju, even if I wanted to buy Marvel and DC, there's virtually nothing out there worth buying.
It's sad. It really is.
If you go woke, you go broke. And as we've heard recently, if you go woke, you go to shit.
Yeah, that's right. It was a Trumpism, wasn't it? There you go.
Yeah, it was. There was one out there. But, this brings up to a point, and I'm going to show you guys one that we had. Rich Davis created this, and this was the final issue. He did Cult of Dracula, Source Point Press. I had the opportunity to actually meet. He was on our show, when he first launched, because he had seen a review. I had done a review of his comic, and it looked kind of promising. In my mind, it's a reimagination of the Cult of Dracula story set in modern time.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it looked pretty fun. The art was pretty good. The story was intriguing. So we had him on and talked to him. Well, I got to meet him face to face because, he was set up with Source Point Press. Scout Comics was down there. And just what we were talking about, I said, this was really cool. The final issue came out, and that's what this one is, number 6. So I actually can't wait to read it. He let me know that, by the way, Dennis, guess who just got optioned? And I was like, really? So it looks like they're going to do a series based on it. And all he told me some, but all I could say was they got a really good showrunner. He didn't want to be a showrunner. He wanted to continue to write the comics and help with the stories and stuff. But now that's all of a sudden a book that people are going, oh, that got optioned. Now, that's a really small print run. I think, it was a relatively small print run that they put up there. They've got a bunch of different covers, but now people are starting to, go hunting for those type of books. So that's basically a new type of a market that's coming on.
And it's kind of funny. And I guess it's no different than what's going on in the Marvel DC collector market, that, you're trying to get in on a book before it gets turned into a movie, right? And rather than trying to get a book after it's already been announced, right, it's going to be a movie, because it goes to the roof. So you look at this indie market and you think, God, does that have potential? Does that have potential? It's kind of like, and I don't want to boil everything down just from a collector's mentality. I mean, I have one because I'm a collector and you are too, but I'm a reader, obviously, and everything you read and like is not necessarily going to be a hot collectible. But I just think it's interesting that there's potential out there that, I guess, saying to this, the people that buy the independent comics, that, you may look at the price tag and go, oh, these are way more expensive than Marvel or DC, but you're also looking at potentially a really good collectible that may really pay off, if you treat your comics that way. I mean, I'm a guy who reads comics and collects comics, so every comic I buy is potentially a collectible, but that doesn't keep me necessarily from reading it. But I take care of it because you never know, right? You never know.
Right. As a creator, you probably are really interested. You want to put out a good book. It's obviously a labor of love. You get to create whatever you want. They don't say, hey, Aaron, do this Superman, do this X-Men, do this Spider-Man. You get your choice and say, hey, I can create whatever it is that I want. You take that down, and that's what you're doing. You're creating something great. Now, the boon to you is if at some point they go, hey, this is really cool. Fans like it. It gets a lot of attention. Maybe Netflix, maybe it's Prime, maybe it's Hulu. There's so many different streaming services, and that's where the key in this is. There's all these different streaming services, Disney and Hulu, Crackle. They're all having to do their own, their own content now instead of just, taking somebody else's. So now they're looking for somebody that's different. All of a sudden you land one. All of a sudden, you're kind of in a windfall then because it's all yours.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what we all hope for, right? I mean, someone just had supported the campaign. Thank you very much. And asked me a question, said, well, now that you've hit, 50,000, how does that compare to your page rate at Marvel or DC, basically? And I said, well, once you subtract your mailing costs, your printing costs, and your platform fees, not as great as you might think, right? I mean, because that money, those numbers look really, really impressive, but when you start factoring in the cost before you can even, put $1 in your pocket for the work that you're doing, you've got to pay for all this other stuff, right? So It takes a chunk out of there. And so I was kind of, I was discussing, the page rate in a little bit, and he said, well, were comics ever lucrative, or you guys have always been starving artists, And I said, well, unless you're a superstar level guy where you hit, you're the Batman artist or whatever, and you get a huge paycheck, or page rate, and get some royalties off a book that sells really well. I said, you don't make as much money as a plumber. I said, you can do okay. You can have a decent living, obviously, but you're never gonna, you're not going to be this. You're not going to make a ton of money unless somebody picks up your creator-owned project to turn it into something where there's more revenue involved than just comic sales, toys, video games, movies, television, whatever. And so that's kind of what, I guess in the back of our mind, that's what we're all hoping for. But I think it's a little dangerous to create a book or a property saying, what would make a good TV show? Because they're not,
right.
Because that could ensure the failure of your comic, right? You have to have a successful comic first before you can ever have anyone take any interest in it and say, oh, hey, let's make Cyberfrog into a cartoon, or let's take Wraith of God and make this into a major motion picture, right? If no one buys the book, then no one's going to be interested in making it into anything, So you have to, I think, go in not thinking like that.
Right.
You can see a comic that looks like, okay, this was created specifically to sell to somebody as a television property or a movie property, right? And and now I don't think you have to think that way, first of all, because with CGI, anything's possible, right? Anything.
Yes.
So it doesn't really matter. And so you go in and I think you come up with a project. And this is what kind of the problem I have with mainstream comics these days is I think there's too many guys auditioning for television and writing jobs. And so they're writing comic books like episodic television, which is great on TV, but is terrible as a comic book. It's slow, it's boring, nothing happens.
Yeah.
And it's all character driven. But the problem is in a comic book, you don't have any actors. You don't have, oh, I love that guy or I love that girl. That's not, you have, static pictures of people talking, and you can, as a good artist will give you some emotion and stuff in it, but that can't be the whole thing. And so I think too many people are doing that, and we're losing sort of that energy and the dynamics you get from a superhero or adventure or fantasy story. And so you have to create a comic book, I think, that you want to see as a comic, and then just maybe you get lucky one day.
Right. I tend to agree with that. First, Pup, you missed the beginning. Andy's on a live stream right now. He's supposed to be finishing up, and he'll be joining us as soon as he's done. Well, and this kind of goes to what you're saying. Mad says in the 90s, I was spending $100, $200 a month. Now in 2021, I spent the same, but only on 3 or 4 projects a month. Yep. And that's kind of where I think the industry's heading. So to get to your point, I did some reviews, and it's interesting because I encourage people to leave feedback on the YouTube whenever I post the quick flips or the full reviews of them, because we all have different opinions. We all like different things. We all hate different things. I had made a comment that Aftershock was putting out some pretty interesting titles. They're taking some chances on certain things. Mm-hmm. And some people agreed with me. And then another guy came on and goes, I'm not very fond of them because everything they seem to be putting out goes into that formula where it looks like they're trying to write to become a TV show or a mini series or a movie at some point versus just the comic book. And he actually made me sit there and go, that's actually an interesting point. So I kind of went back and re-looked at some of the stuff, and I don't necessarily think he's wrong. That doesn't mean you can't put out both in a positive light and do both, but I think the more successful ones are make a good comic book first. We can always adapt that later on.
Yeah, I think and I agree with Aftershock. I mean, I know Mike Martz really well, I've known him for years. But when you're a small publisher, you have to look for other revenue streams because you're not going to be able to really compete against Marvel and DC in the sales market, right? So you try to come up with a concept that you hope is interesting enough that you can get some readership, but that also I think is flexible enough to become a television show or something. I did a cover for Steve Orlando's Project Patron, which I thought was actually a pretty cool concept where you've got this sort of android superhero. There you go.
There's today's issue.
you got this android superhero, right? That this team of whatever, this team of people, they're like, each of them, from what I understood, as I was, like I said, I just did the cover, I didn't do the interiors or anything, but I did get to go through the interiors, and that they're partially responsible for certain personality traits, and so they get into this gear and they basically control this superhero who goes out and does whatever, but they're the guys behind the scenes that are actually controlling this, animated life form, or it's not really a robot, I guess it's more of a synthetic being, but it's so I thought that was kind of a cool concept, and I could see how that's a high-end concept, but I can see, because of how it's set up, you could say, well, this is set up that this could work as a television show or a movie, and clearly that was, well, I'm not going to speak for Steve because he knows what he was thinking, I don't, but it appears that was part of the thought process, when creating it. But it's a really great concept, so
it is.
I think it works either as a comic book or potentially as a television show or something like that. So that's one of those things, I think, you kind of hit middle ground, and it seems to work really well. So
yeah, the comic, that's actually been one of my picks. So so the concept, you were pretty accurate in your description. So there was an original superhero that was, the patron, and something happens and he goes, but they don't want the public to know that he went. Mm-hmm. So they create a synthetic and they control it almost like virtually. And they have different teams that are set up that can control it. There's a super strong guy that gives them the strength. There's a smart person. Anyway, then there's a middle of the road guy. They've got different guys, and he absorbs kind of their abilities and their thought processes behind it. And it's a really cool concept. And then all of a sudden in the first one, the main guy, who's like the big sergeant guy, he dies while in it. And it's a really cool story on how they do it. And then they find out a really big twist in it. How did he die? That's not possible. They come back around, and it's been a really interesting story trying to do it. And I think issue 5 here wraps up the first basically segment, or you could call it the first mini-series, and I think it is kind of how it's written, because it could be set up very easily as an episodic TV show. But it's a cool concept, and I don't know the ending yet because I haven't had a chance to read it, but the concept has been solid all the way through.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I've worked with Steve a couple times. He's a really good guy, so I hope it does well for him. Yeah, someone had put in the post, I don't know if you saw it or not, they said, has Overstreet recognized any of these independent comics yet? And
yeah, I'm popping that up right now because, that is an interesting question because I don't know. I know the newer one came out, and this is probably the first one I haven't picked up in years, so I have to go pick it up. I know I can answer it on there's databases that are out there because I use a couple of databases, and then one of the bigger ones that I use, which ties into Atomic Avenue, for example, Andy's book wouldn't be in there, but I can be a contributor, which I was, and I scanned in the different covers, put in the information because he had an ISBN and everything like that. So I was able to put all of that information, upload it with the scans of the covers, and they eventually accepted it. They have to go through and double check everything, just like Overstreet would. But yeah, it's in their database now. So I think as we get more and more of these, as long as that information gets submitted, I don't know on Overstreet directly how to submit it, but I think that's a great question. And I do think that you guys as independent creators really need to make sure that follows through because it needs to be able to be looked up.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I think because you have so many one-offs, like a person will just crowdfund a book, right? And that'll be it, right?
Yeah.
And then, so you don't see a lot of in crowdfunding yet, but it's a new market. And because it takes so long to produce from start to finish, with the whole crowdfunding campaign and then actually do the work, get it to the printer, get it out to the people, you're looking at 6 months in between issues, right? So even if you were doing an ongoing series, as it were, you're only going to get, 1 or 2 issues a year. And I wonder how long, Overstreet is not always, they're never in front of the curve. They're always behind the curve.
Correct.
And sometimes by a couple of years. So, and if you only do a one shot basically, and that's it. And
Yep.
It may never end up because it's never been released through normal comic book channels, right? So does it become like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. I mean, they usually Overstreet eventually figures it out, right? And they discover this stuff and go, we should put this in here and it'll show up.
Yeah.
I think there was a period of time when Marvel's, when they were doing the original graphic novels there in the mid to late 80s, with the death of Captain Marvel and stuff like that. I don't think those were originally included in the price guide. I think it took a while. They said, well, should we include these in here? Do these belong here? And then, of course, they're comics just because they're thicker than monthly comics. And so they ended up in there. But like you said, if we're not selling through any known market or database with an ISBN number, it's kind of hard to track that stuff. How would you even know that it was out there unless you're completely monitoring everybody's campaign?
Right. In Overstreet, so I wish if I were up in the man cave, I would actually have access to my Overstreets. But the Overstreets, if you look at the beginning, they list all the different contributors, and a lot of your key contributors or their gold contributors, they always, give a foreword ahead and kind of the shape of the market and stuff. So there are all of these different people that do contribute that information. So I would assume it would be through, for a while, Graham Cracker Comics was in there, things like that. Eventually they will notice stuff and they would say, oh, this isn't in there. We've got customers. So they would probably slowly help that process out. I just think that a lot of the stuff today, they're all different databases. Your CLZ, your collectors, your Atomic Avenue, they're all different databases that pull from different places. I think we have a much quicker reaction because if you wind up getting an ISBN for your book, you can go out there and hit the different sites and be able to publish that information and get it into their system. Problem is that's an extra layer once again for you to take care of.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and I've actually thought about this with Wraith of God, my independent project. It's live right now on Indiegogo. There's my plug. But to get an ISB number, which I've done this before, I did it one time on one of my sketchbooks. I got an ISB number so I could sell it through Amazon. And then Amazon turned out to be such a colossal ripoff for a publisher,
right?
That it wasn't worth my time. So, who's this guy who's interrupting?
Speaking of colossal ripoffs, hey Andy,
what's up, girls?
Wow,
God.
nice of you to join sidekick there.
I am your sidekick today. I will admit, you couldn't even be bothered to drive over here. So you know what? You can.
Oh, and I'm glad I didn't, obviously, because you would have been like, "Oh, I'm on a different stream."
No, so here's what happened, Aaron. I'm sure because you've got 4 today, right?
Yeah.
You said, what are we, number 3 or 2?
No, you're number 2.
Who was your first one, if you don't mind me asking?
Thinking Critical with Wes.
Oh, yeah.
We were talking about Malibu mostly, the good old days with Roland Mann, but
was Roland at Malibu?
Huh?
Roland was at Malibu?
Yeah. Yeah, he was.
I don't remember. Oh, I just saw him at MegaCon, or I don't know if Dennis did, but yeah, I did. But no, so I'm driving to pick Courtney up, right? My daughter worked till 3, right? Well, she told me 3:30. So I'm at the comic shop. My phone rings. It's like 10 after 3. I've got plenty of time. And she goes, "Where are you?" I don't know if your daughter talks to you like that.
Yes, she does.
She goes, "Where are you?" And I go, I'm supposed to pick you up at 3:30. She goes, "No, it's 3." I said, "You told me this morning 3:30. She goes, "Oh shit. I mean, shoot." That is the first time she's ever cussed. I'm not
really
that you heard.
Well, when she got in the car and I picked her up, she was fine. But I joked. I said, "Oh, Mom thought that was so funny." She goes, "Stop it! I don't like to cuss." And I'm like, oh, "Relax. It's not even the worst thing you could say." So then I'm driving home, and I sent John Malin a message a couple days ago saying, "Hey, bro, if you stream soon, let me know. I'd love to be able to talk First Man on your stream." And John usually streams real late at night, which is great for you because you're West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So he sends a message. He goes, "Oh, I'm streaming right now," and I was like, "Oh, okay, got to do what you got to do.
You got to do what you got to do, man."
And I got some sales.
So there, that's what you do it for, right? That's
that was worth it.
We're promoting. And someone actually in here said they just backed Wraith of God garbage, Mad Ruth. So
Mad Ruth is awesome.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yep. And Hyper Kaiju, thank you. But no, I was also going to say I'm so sorry. And I know it's hard when I'm trying to be sincere, but I really am, because I take this stuff important, and I got on with John like around 5:04, and I'm like, okay, this will be like a half hour. But we went through a whole interview thing of how I got into comics to now. And it was fun. And I've never really talked to John in that depth. He's such a cool dude, just from a knowledge standpoint of comics. And Aaron, you'll appreciate this. He comes from basically the breaking in the 2000s, where you and I broke in the 90s.
Yes.
So he likes hearing about the color separation days and the old school color and, all that stuff that he's just not that knowledgeable in. So it was a really, really fun conversation in that respect as well.
It was funny last night when I was doing my live stream before we got attacked by the troll brigade. Someone said, you should have Malin on your show. And I said, I don't know. John Malin scares me. So I don't know.
Did you watch the Storytellers with Graham with him, like I suggested?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
You got to carve that time out. It's one of the best ones.
All right.
He's busy promoting his book, Andy.
That's right. I don't have time to watch videos. I'm too busy making them.
Oh, I couldn't believe how late you were up last night.
Well, because I was gonna, I took your advice early on. I was like, dude, you got to stream like practically every day, at least a little bit, right? I'm like, okay. So I hadn't done anything. I did Charlie's London last night.
She's a sweetheart, isn't she?
Yeah, she's super nice.
Yeah,
very charming. And
yep.
So I finished with that, and she goes, "Oh, Ethan has a stream. I'm going to go pop in on Ethan's stream." I said, "All right, good luck." And so she goes, and I turned on. I was like, "Well, I wonder if I should stream." And I thought, I'm not going to try and compete against, Ethan's channel, right? So, and I kept thinking, man, because I didn't do anything all day yesterday. I actually drew, but I didn't do anything in terms of promotion yesterday, except when I got on her channel, which was at 4:00 my time in the afternoon. Right. So I hadn't done anything all day. So then I get done with hers, and I'm like, God, I should really probably do something. But then Ethan was streaming. I'm like, I'm not even going to attempt to compete against this, right?
You could have popped on his stream.
Well,
he sent the link.
I didn't know. I was just like,
I know.
It's like I don't want to jump on there every 5 minutes. It just seems ridiculous. So even though it's always a benefit, but he had somebody on, and then.
Oh, no, I know. So I didn't jump on just because we were so late. This is where I envy you, Mr. West Coast, because Monday night I know you hadn't eaten dinner yet and your tummy was rumbling, but it was only 9:20 when you got done. It was 12:20 and I got up my alarm went off at 6 the next morning, and I was like, nope. And I got up at 7, and I was literally The Walking Dead all day yesterday, just from one night of 5.5 hours of sleep.
Well, but see, that's where I'm at right now, because I said, well, I waited till Ethan's stream got over, and I was watching and kind of listened to the end of it, and it was like 9 o'clock or something, and he bailed out. And I went, should I? I said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to do it. And because I had bought this, I bought some brown paper. and I wanted to break the pad in, right? Because when I draw on white paper, you get that glow reflection from the white paper, and sometimes you can't really see what you're drawing until you start the inking it, right? So I thought I'm going to get some brown paper and just use brown paper on my live streams, and it works great because it doesn't reflect, and you can see the penciling and everything real clearly. So that was my whole goal, right? So I just went on with one of my last second live streams, and we're up there, just chatting with the chat, and so then when I started drawing these, we started getting all these trolls just jumping in and just going nuts, and so I was handing out wrenches, Mike Miller was there. He said, "Give me a wrench." So I gave him a wrench, and he was cleaning house. And while I was doing this, but I was getting very distracted because I kept seeing all this stuff roll up, and it was obviously screwing up the stream, or at least because I like to interact with the comments a lot when I do my show. And so it was pissing me off, and I was trying to concentrate on drawing, but still keeping an eye on this. And then David Williams was in there, and he's like, "Dude, send me a link." So I sent David a link, and he comes on and just like, "Dude, get back to work. Don't worry about that crap. Let the moderators deal with them." And I'm like, all right. So I was talking to him for a little bit, and then Ethan showed up in the stream, and I was watching my numbers. You got the eyeball up there in the corner, right? Yeah. And I started off at about 40, it got to about 60, and I was like, those are really high numbers for me. And and then so Ethan shows up, and apparently somebody in the chat is going, "Oh my gosh, word's going out that you're being attacked all over the place." And so I don't know, somehow word got to Ethan, and so he shows up in the stream. He's like, "Send me a link." So so I sent him a link. So then suddenly it's me, David, and Ethan on there, and my numbers go up past 90 just like that.
I know.
Watching.
I keep wanting to. I keep meaning to ask Ethan if he'd come on here with Dennis and I so we can interview him and stuff, but I don't, because I know how busy he is. Well,
that's a funny thing, because people in the chat are like, "Oh, you should have Ethan on. You should have," it's like, why would he come on my channel? He's got, it's just like, I guess, a step down. Why would he even bother? But he was drawing. He had done with his live stream. He was just drawing, staying up all night working, and apparently, somehow got notification what was going on, and it just came over. So I was like, so it turned out to be, like, by the time the show was over, an hour later, there was like 800 views on that video, which obviously is going to happen when he jumps in. But I actually, the funny thing was, because I don't know Ethan that well. I mean, I hardly know him at all, really. And so I actually, we talked about a few things, but I actually just started interviewing him, on the show, and it just, and it was actually really informative. And I don't know how many times, I'm sure he has in the past, but I don't know how many times he's actually sat down and got interviewed like that. And so it was, and of course I asked the questions that I wanted to ask, but we were talking about, stuff that he did at DC and with Jeff Johns, and, how he ended up from Blackest Night to the Flash Rebirth and all this kind of stuff that actually was just pure comic book stuff, none of the other nonsense. It was just comic book history, which is always really fascinating and interesting to talk about. So, but yeah, and then we stayed on after the stream and just talked about a variety of different things. And I don't know, I ended up going to bed about 2 a.m., I think. So
how long were you on for after the stream, do you think?
Oh, at least another hour.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Or more. Yeah. And so we were just, just chatting, just getting to know him, get some more, back story on Comicsgate and what really happened and how it got started, and, what his role was, and some of the controversies that came down, and how he handled it, and what just stuff we're not going to share on air or anything like that. It was really informative. Got to know him a little bit, which was nice.
Yeah. Oh, there it is. Oh man, is that $10 away from 57?
It is. Refresh that, baby.
Or I didn't refresh it. If he got a backer, hold on, let me refresh.
Well,
so right when you were hopping in, there it is.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
What's your 60K stretch goal? Because that's the next one, right?
Yeah, that's going to be another trading card. That's going to be
cool.
Esther, the female character in the book. So that'll be the next stretch goal. So I was crunching my numbers last night and budgeting and things like that, and it's so funny because the hardest thing is figuring out, trying to guess
It
the
doesn't
DNA.
even sound good.
Aaron just got that
DNA bump.
That just doesn't even sound good.
Oh, the hardest thing is figuring out the shipping. You're just guessing, really. And you use some numbers, but you're always like, man, is that shipping right now? If I had to do it right now, is that 8,000 in shipping? Or am I looking at 10 grand in shipping? And it's that $2,000 makes a huge difference.
I mean, it does, but you
or the
also
other.
have to look at it that, obviously when somebody backs it, that shipping number is in that total that you're
That's what I
looking
mean.
at. Yeah. But I mean, it's not that hard to figure out. If you go to like your perks report, I'm sure you've done that, right?
Right, but they don't separate shipping on that, do they?
No, but you can go to your perks report and go through each one. Like, we can talk about this off stream with the details of stuff if you want.
Well, no, I know how to do it, but I'm just guesstimating without going in and actually doing work.
No,
and,
I mean, you're fine.
I mean, it says right on here, like for example, on your cover A, raw, imagination, you sold 59 out of 100 already. You got 130 claimed with Garbage Man. You got 48. I mean, so you can tell just by looking at it without digging into it. If you just want a quick glance.
Right. No, I've been doing that, but it's like I like to do math, but I like to do quickie math. I don't really.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is take the number of backers you have, which I don't even know what. Go back up. How many? What do you have now? Let me see.
I'm sure these people really want to hear us talk about.
I know, but you can just take that.
Right.
You have
got
763 backers.
backers.
You could times that by 10.
That's what I've been doing.
Yeah,
just because I figure that's pretty safe.
Yeah, and it's over actually. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a couple of big, large shipping things in there, but for the most part, it's they're all in that same.
But that averages out. Yeah.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So, anyway, enough of shipping.
Yeah. What were you boys talking about when I popped on? What cool comic stuff?
Well, funny he just brought up Malibu because, of course, he had mentioned the Malibu, and one of the guys had posted about Malibu, and Malibu used to put out some Star Trek, not great Star Trek books, but still Star Trek books.
Oh, yeah.
They're nestled in my collection somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking about ISBN numbers.
Oh yeah, I got one.
I'm wondering if there's any advantage to, because we're obviously not selling these through Amazon or anything, right? But
no,
an ISB number is not that expensive. So you get an ISB number, put it on the back of your book, so you have the price on there, which is, for most of us, is $25, right? Or $24.99, whatever. You put on there, and you put 25 on there with your ISB number and print it that way. And I'm wondering, and this, I guess I'm throwing this more at Dennis, is I'm wondering.
$24.95 is what I have on mine.
Oh, so did you get an ISB number for yours?
Yeah, I was going to tell you why when you were done talking.
Well, tell me why, because I'm done talking.
Okay, so when you buy an ISBN number, it's actually cheaper to buy 10.
Than one?
It's stupid, but yeah. So I have 10 of them, right?
Okay.
And then, wait, is it 10 ISBNs? Damn it. This is where I get confused because I haven't bought them in a while because I use the same website, which I can send you the link for and you can check it out yourself.
Okay. Yeah.
So let me go back. It's either cheaper to buy bulk ISBN or bulk barcodes. One of the two is cheaper.
Okay.
Right. I want to say it's the ISBNs is cheaper to buy 10. And it is. It's just stupid how they do it, but that's how they get you.
Okay.
So yeah, I bought it just because what if I did want to sell it on Amazon? I've got it.
Right.
What if I did go to a comic shop and say, hey, I'll sell these to you at, diamond discount, whatever your diamond discount is, 40%, whatever it is, that's what I'll sell them to you for. That's why I did it. Hindsight being 2020, I probably still would have done it just because I like having it on there in case it just gives me that option
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it's not on there, it's not a big deal. You can still take it to a comic shop.
Right. But
You know.
and what we were talking about, Andy, was what something you and I haven't really discussed is in order to get your books into a lot of these databases, they want the barcode, they want your ISBN number. So with you doing that, that's how I was able to remember when I said I scanned in your books and I uploaded it. You're officially in there. It came through in the latest update. And for doing that. But now that actually brings up a point because Aaron was asking earlier, he goes, with independent comics, are we seeing a market? And we were discussing earlier, why you would want to and what the independent market is for collectors. Right. So Aaron, let's say you sell 1,500 copies of your book here. Right. And like Andy, I think it was your Jungle Lords you ran out. Well, now you want to turn around and you're going to make a second print of it. But now you've got the option because you got to differentiate your first print run from your second print run. So like Andy, you were adding your astonishing logo, which I didn't change from the stream, by the way, onto anything you second print. But you should also change that ISBN number, your barcode to reflect that. And then you have to put it in the, the indice. But you want to differentiate them, that way. And that's one way to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking that if you, and this is just from a personal standpoint, because like I said, I'm not just a comic book creator, comic book reader. I'm also a comic book collector. And it would be kind of cool to set it up so that, hey, Wraith of God could at some point end up in Overstreet. And I think the only way that would happen is if you did have a barcode and ISBN on there so you could get in their database, and then they have to recognize it as a published book and not just something you did in your garage and hand it out to your friends.
And I just went to the website. I have 6 more ISBN numbers, so it's cheaper. So I bought 10 ISBNs, and then the barcodes, they don't cut you a break on. So if you're curious, let's see. Oh, this blows, but here's why. Are you ready for this? Talk about this company grabbing you by the cojones, right?
Okay, let's hear it.
One ISBN number, $125.
Right.
10 ISBN numbers, $295.
Wow.
So I bought 10. Because if I buy two ISBNs is $250 for $45 more, I could have 8 more of them.
Is there a time limit on these? There isn't, is there? You can just use them whenever.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I didn't put an ISBN on the Jungle Lords, but if I do ever have to go back to print on them, I can.
I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to put an ISBN on Wraith of God. I think I am.
And then if you're curious about barcodes, I already know what they are without even looking. They're 25 each, and there's no bulk number for those.
Well, now, what's the difference?
Well, the barcode, they have to scan.
I know the difference what it looks like, but in terms of sales?
I don't know. I mean, every product I see has both. Book.
Oh, really?
I haven't seen a book with just one or the other.
Really? I didn't know that. I'll have to check that out.
I mean, maybe there are, but as far as I know, every bookstore I go to and every book I've bought, they have both, an ISBN. I mean, maybe the only reason you need a barcode is for the store for scanning. I don't know, but I mean, for $25, since there's no break on those, I just buy them when I need them. But I've got, like I said, I've got 6 ISBNs left because I've used 4 of them. So
yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're going to use them, this is probably pretty boring conversation for most people, but I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, but honestly, some people think this stuff is interesting. That's the thing I like about these streams is it's just stream of talking, stream of consciousness.
I was going to say the other thing is if you had a good relationship with like local comic book stores, I know some people, I don't remember who, but they were, they'd give them a bulk break on buying X number of copies if they wanted to sell them in their store. With the barcode, it's just entered right into the system then. So on a POS, they just go bink and there it is, and it shows up.
Yeah, I have some retail friends that want to carry Wraith of God. And I said, I told them, I said, look, I cannot put up a retailer tier. I said, because the stuff we've always talked about was you don't want them in a comic book shop and then have them cut price on it or whatever, so that your backers are, paying 25 and then this comic shop selling them for.
Right.
I told him, I said,
you don't.
Well, I was just going to say, I told him what I can do is I said, once I fulfill all the orders to my customers, then I'll overprint. Obviously, you want some extra copies to bring around and put in a store and show them whatever. I said, I can sell you those so that everybody that wants the copy and is back the copy can get all their, they'll have their product, and then, cut a deal with them that, dude, you can't discount these. You got to sell them for,
Right. And that's the thing that, you can only do that with stores you trust. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because that's the thing. I totally agree. We're not doing a $4 book that 3 months from now, and Dennis and I know this for a fact with all the small cons we go to, 3 months later, I can't tell you how many times I've been like, seriously, I just got that 6 weeks ago for cover price and now it's $1.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. And that's one reason I'm just holding on to them, and we'll sell them through, the campaigns and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's my concern as well, because even people that are box customers, they'll come in and get a 20% discount right off the top.
Right. And that's just not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not fair that you charge your backers full price and then you give it to the store for, the store sells at a discount.
And yeah, I mean, this just from joining and talking and everything. And the biggest thing we do is the customer service, and the backers are the ones that come first and foremost. I mean, Dennis was lucky because he did back first, man. So he actually came over and I was like, first book goes to you, big guy. Here.
Did you?
And then I said, and I'll keep that postage too.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I paid for the postage.
But hey, you got the first book though, so.
That's right. He got and I signed it. Oh, I signed everybody's. Never.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like my arm got twisted in that one.
No, I was going to. Oh, you know what I was going to ask if you would share, Aaron, because you're promoting obviously Wraith of God first and foremost, but you are kind of promoting Garbage Man as well. Unless there's a big secret to it, could you show one of the pages where you had to take Batman out and put somebody else in, or no?
Well, no. And
you don't want to?
I've talked about it a little bit, but that's kind of like that to me. That's kind of the draw to get the book, is that it's not just because a lot of people bought the comics, right? And so they're like, well, why should I get the trade paperback? And I've actually had people ask me that. And I said, well, because there's 18 pages of new material and they're featuring new characters. So,
but don't you think that's a tease in a way, just showing one page to go, look, this is it?
Well, I have put one page up on. Okay, I'll show you the one page.
Yeah, I'd just like to see it. No, I mean, I've
twisted his arm.
I'm very curious.
I posted it, so I just got to find it. Give me a second here.
Is it not scanned in?
Dude, yeah, but it'd probably take me longer to find the scan.
Oh my God, you were so unorganized.
Well, I didn't know you were going to ask me for this when we came on.
No, I just meant in general. I mean, I finished a cover today for a guy, and I was going to show it to you guys off screen because it's for a guy's book who isn't out yet. So I can't.
Well, this is actually more interesting because you can actually see the process here. I think it's going to be better if I do this down here rather than hold it up to the screen. So
yeah, that's cool.
Give me a second to.
Wait, are you wearing shorts?
Yeah, I'm always wearing. It's hot.
All right.
I'll put a board over my lap so you don't have to look at my werewolf legs.
I don't want to see the thunder thighs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay, so.
We just don't want a Jeffrey Toobin incident.
No.
I didn't say that, Aaron. You notice who did. Just saying.
I know.
Catalog that.
Okay. So, all right.
What do we got?
So here's Batman, right?
Yep.
And
why don't you let's full screen it?
Look at this interesting character. And I shouldn't probably be showing this, but
that is not the Wraith, is it?
Kind of looks like him, doesn't it?
Are you kidding? He's in it.
Kind of looks like him, doesn't it? What does that mean? Why would that guy look like the Wraith? I don't know. My
Oh,
goodness.
you sneaky dog.
No, I'm not saying anything. I'm just
Now wait, go back. What were those legs? What the heck
Oh,
were
that was-
those legs that you had to draw?
that was
What are
that
those
was no, this is another character, part of the team that this character's on.
Oh, is this
And,
not the same page? Patch for the whole page? Is this a patch for different pages?
Yeah, it's patched for a different page.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Okay.
Cool.
So yeah, so just by getting to see that, well, see, now I'm like, gosh, should I show that? But I already did post it like months ago when I was doing it. But that's why that stretch goal of 50,000, where there's a 3-page epilogue at the end of the Wraith of God story that sort of ties Wraith of God in to the Garbage Man stuff.
No, I'm very curious to see how you do. Well, does Power Cube take place in the same universe as well?
I'm deciding on that because Power Cubed is more humorous, and so I don't know tonally. I don't know that it fits. It fits more it fits more with Kit Carter than it does with, and Kit Carter's even more ridiculous than Power Cubed. Although Power Cubed does take place. The thing with Power Cubed is, it's the kid, the main character. It's very serious and straight, right? But the villains are just complete morons.
Oh, I know. I bought it.
Yeah, so it might fit. It might fit because you could just say this particular band of villains, are just complete idiots, and that's where kind of the humor comes from.
I mean, I guess the way I look at it, and I mean, it's obviously your creation, so correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I mean, if it fits into the universe, it's a big world. You know what I mean? So why couldn't there be a part of this world that has that? You know what I mean?
Right. Well,
I'm really looking forward to the 3-page thing you're doing, because to me, it just doesn't seem like 3 pages is enough. Honestly, to tell to tell that merging.
No, it's just just enough. It's just enough to get your
whet your appetite. To whet your appetite.
Well, Hyper said he was really looking forward to Garbage Man because he totally missed the original campaign.
You're not the only one, pal.
Yep, I did too. So I'm very curious.
But see, that's the key, because in all of this crowdfunding stuff, that's the key. Getting people aware of it, getting out there, and you cannot do it in the very least without having your own channel, so you can promote yourself, and connections with other people that are already doing it, so that you can use them as not only help and information sources, but also to help get your name out there. And so when I put Garbage Man out there, I was just like, I'm at DC, I'm doing this, people know who I am. No. And so it was, I just used social media, and it just was just it was an utter disaster. But someone had pointed out to me, I thought it was interesting last night in the chat, that they said that 20% of the public is on Twitter. And then it was like, I can't remember the percentage now, 70% watches YouTube.
Yeah.
So this is a way better marketing tool or a platform to get exposure on than just posting stuff on social media. And especially the way social media is set up. I mean, if you don't happen to be watching when someone posts something, you're never even going to see it unless you go to their page to seek out to see what they posted.
Well, not only that, but especially when it comes to Facebook, just forget it, because you might have your 5,000 friends, right? I mean, I maxed out, and then, weekly it fluctuates between 2 and 3, going to 497, whatever. But the point is, I scroll through the timeline, it's the same like 10 people.
Yeah.
And that's how it is for the other people that see whatever I post. So Graham's posted before, like, I think on the Shanu, and he might have did it back with Alien Alamo when it was actually running, he's like, I have 5,000 friends. Just comment if you're actually seeing this so I can get some type of idea. And barely anyone, it's ridiculous. At least with Twitter, you can do the hashtags. And then every now and then, besides doing hashtags, sometimes when you do, I don't know if somebody's told you this or not, but, when you post a Wraith of God, instead of doing any hashtags, do, at, and then like me, for instance, so at Andy Smith Art, at whatever Grams is, at whatever Ethan is, and so on and so forth, and just fill it up that way, because then people that follow them on Twitter will get a notification or something like, ooh, this person was mentioned, blah, blah, blah. And then obviously if I see it, because you tagged me that way, I definitely see it. So I go, oh, retweet, compared to just scrolling through Twitter and going, oh, Aaron posted, retweet,
Right. And it does come back down to the fan support and them willing to retweet and and move your project around so other people, so you can get other people to see it. And that's kind of why I like this format a lot now, as I'm understanding it more. This crowdfunding is because, and I've said before, and we said about this earlier, the guys that come in and back your project are really, in a lot of ways, your business partners in all of this, right? Because they're the ones providing the financing for you to create this product that obviously they want. But so they feel a part of the action, which they really are. So they're more motivated to get out there and push it as well, because they're
invested. They're invested in it.
They're connected.
It's not the same as, I'm going to go to the store and buy Batman, or Spider-Man or whatever. It doesn't require. They're not involved in that. They're simply a customer at that point. But when you're basically involved in a business venture, which they are, they have every desire to see the campaign succeed as you do, because they want the book. This is a product that they backed, and they want to see it come to fruition. So you have guys that are motivated to go out there and push it, which is, obviously is key to any of us having success with our books.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah, and it's a tight-knit community. I mean, look at Hyper Kaiju. He came on and he helps moderate for us, Wrench, just because he cops on, and we really appreciate that, because we spend our time doing this stuff. Right. I mean, these guys, they enjoy this stuff. They enjoy the group in general, and everybody's willing to lend a helping hand besides back a project. They enjoy this stuff and they tell their friends about it. They bring people in. I mean, this is how you truly grow a business, not what Marvel and DC are doing. They're doing just the opposite. It's how to shrink a business.
Well, that's the problem too, is, once you get, and it's not just Marvel and DC, but you just look at a lot of companies that have been around forever. And even though they pay advertising agencies or whatever to do ad campaigns, there's still that little bit of probably going, we can just rest on our laurels, even if that's not in the forefront of their mind. Subconsciously, it's like, we've been around 60 years. You know what I mean? And when you're a startup like we are, you're like, no, man, I got to push. The quality all comes down to me. I mean, that is one of the biggest differences work-wise with doing this. And we talked about this before, Aaron, is, was it easier when I just got my script from Marvel or DC and had to draw a page for that day? Yeah, because I literally just came up here at like 8:00, sat down, opened my script, did a thumbnail, and usually by 6 or 7, I'm like, day's done. But now it's like stream, draw, tweet, promote. And then once the book gets to the phase of dealing with once you get to the part of going, oh, now the book, my art's done. Now I got to send it to the letterer. I got to funnel pages to the colorist, and you've got the other aspects as well, because you're the editor looking at everything, you know?
That's the other thing. That's the other thing I'm thinking about maybe is depending on where the campaign ends up, and how much extra funds I actually have when it's all said and done, is to maybe hire an independent editor to go through, to double check everything for me before it goes to the printer, because I don't trust myself to,
Have you no friends
Well, I have friends. But,
No, I mean, honestly, this is what I'm saying. I mean, dude, if like I have a friend of mine that's in the business and he had no he doesn't even have credit. He's like, no, I don't care about any of that. He was just like, look, when you're ready, when you have a proof ready to go, shoot it over and I'll give it the once over. That's what I'm saying. I don't necessarily think you have to hire an editor.
Well, I would hire someone that's a friend of mine that
right.
has editing experience and just have them do it if I did it, which I probably will, because this is like with the epilogue now added onto it, it's 75 pages. I mean, that's a lot of stuff.
Well, it's more than that, but because you can't print 75 pages, but
75 pages of story that needs to be edited, right? So
yeah.
It's a lot more likely that, I'm going to make a mistake here or make a mistake there that I don't see,
I'm very I'm so OCD. Besides my one friend reading it, obviously my co-writer, read it. I said, look, I need you to read it a couple times. You need to read this proof a couple times, not just once, because you can miss something. And he caught stuff. I caught stuff. I think my buddy might have caught a couple things. And then even after that, with the final proof, at that point, I for me, at least, my process is at that final point, I go through and I'm not really reading it like, a sentence like, Mad Ruth says, we feel like it's our success too. I'm literally just looking at every word individually to make sure it's spelled properly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just looking at every word.
And that's an Andy trigger point, because when I got
it's a huge trigger. If I see something spelled wrong, I rage.
He didn't ask me when you read it. He didn't say, let me know the thought. He did ask about the twist ending if I got that, but he goes, was there any misspellings? That was like bam, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to ship something out, especially when your name's all over it. I mean, you're totally responsible for it. Right. And have guys, how come you spelled there like there instead of what it's supposed to be?
Well, and then for me, especially, that's why I definitely needed my buddy to, edit it. And then my buddy Rob, who did the scripting and co-wrote it, because my grammar is awful. So I definitely need those guys to look at punctuation, because forget it.
Right.
That stuff. Oh, there should have been a comma there. Oops. I won't even. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing like I know the cover that's up now. Pull the campaign back up, would you, Dennis? Share it since you got that going.
Yeah. Give me a minute.
I know. You make fun of me when I'm not here, but if I had it shared, you'd see it now.
Well, I had unshared it because I thought we were gonna slow, but yeah, we kept talking, so there it is.
Scroll down to the first cover. Yeah, right there. So obviously, I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, but I would guess you're going to probably put the credits for the creators on here like covers do.
Yeah, I'll just be my name.
Wow. Right there, buddy. Right there. Right there.
No, wait a minute. No, you know what I'll do? I'll put my name on there twice.
There you go.
I'll put Aaron Lopresti's Wraith of God, then I'll put Aaron Lopresti down at the bottom.
Wow.
So are you doing everything, Aaron, including the lettering?
No, I'm not. I'll have as of right now, I think Brian Miller at Hi-Fi will be doing the color unless he decides that maybe it's not a good career move for him, and then I'll get somebody else. And then I have a letterer lined up as well. So
cool.
I'll give him credit.
Maybe. I mean, I do expect a nice, other things you got to think about. You got to do that opening, I can't wait to see what you come. I'm serious. I'm excited. I love getting these books that I back and seeing the different takes people have for their inside front cover credit page. I think that's really part of the fun.
Well, and it is interesting because the Dark Horse is publishing the Garbage Man trade paperback, and they sent me the files and everything, and it was like you look at it and go, oh yeah, this looks cool. And then you're thinking, yeah, but if I had done this, I would have done this, and it's kind of like, but you're not going to go and say, hey, change this and put that there and do, it's like they got design and it looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's, I had an idea of what I could do in my head and I might have done that they obviously didn't do.
Right. So we're leaving Shelly off the credits. Nice, Aaron.
Oh, put Shelly. Well, I'd spell her name right first, Joe.
Well, Joe doesn't know. He doesn't know there's an E in there.
He should know. He's on my stream enough. He should know.
He should.
He should know.
But
I smack guys down on my stream for misspelling. So
that's true. You do. What was I saying? See, you don't have to stop sharing. You can just do this. Oh, see that?
Nope.
You'll learn these tricks.
I know. Hey, you got to admit, that's Aaron. This is my first time having to do any of this. So I kind of succeeded, didn't I?
You did. No, dude, you did. Seriously.
You got it. Hey, when the first couple episodes, I think, in fact, the first time I hosted the Professionals, I was a wreck. I couldn't, these guys are telling me, push that button, you idiot. And I'm like, what? It's not working. So,
oh, dude. The first time I did it, I had so many things lined up at the bottom of StreamYard. I'm pointing to them now, but I had so many things with all of us sharing screens and stuff. They're like, I don't know which one of you guys it was, but they're like, dude, get Billy in. He's down there. And I'm like, there's a second row. So I scroll down. I'm like, oh shit. Click.
See, we learn. And I was like, because I actually had a crisis right before we started here at home. And I was like, oh my God, pulling out my hair on that. I had just finished my first 15 quick flips. And I got like 10 more to do yet tonight. And I was like, oh my God. And then something happened here. And then I had put my computer up, and then Andy's like, dude, I'm going to be late. You need to start the show. I'm like, what? And then so I get down there. I'm like, okay. And then he's like, get a hold of Aaron, send him the link. And through Facebook, I'm like, I'm not friends with Aaron because I'm on my Facebook on my phone.
Which, by the way,
no.
You don't need to be friends with him to send him a message.
Well, it did on there, but when I hopped on the computer, it worked. And then he popped on, and Aaron's like, boy, cutting it close.
I was looking, I was like, it's like a minute till, and I got no
I know.
Like, what is going on with this show? How unprofessional.
I know. Well,
my fault. Actually, Andy's fault, but I'll take the blame for him.
Hey, bring up Mad Ruth, will you? Where he says hashtag blame Shelly.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, hold on. Right there.
Mad, if you show up on my show, and I encourage you to do so, you're going to get slapped. It's SHELLEY. Okay, that's all.
Make sure that when Aaron gets this way, this is all I can see. I mean, seriously, Aaron. I've got tricks too over here that we can pull.
Yeah, you got a few things over there.
I've got a few things I can pull. So real quick, so what are we looking at for the Nebraska this year in football? What are you thinking?
Aren't you always optimistic at the beginning of every, regardless of if you're a baseball fan, football fan, basketball, whatever, you're thinking this is the year. And I am cautiously optimistic, but more so than usual, because I really think they've got a good team this year. I really believe that. They've recruited well over the last few years, and they've had a rough go for the 3 years where Scott Frost, the new coach, came in, and they just haven't had the success that everybody hoped and thought they would. But it really seems like, even though their schedule is incredibly hard this year, but they seem to have the talent at the positions they need to be at to be successful. So I'm optimistic that we're going to have a good year. And the first game's this weekend on Saturday.
What? I thought college started next weekend.
Well, what happened was they scheduled a game. They're playing Illinois, and they scheduled the game for Ireland. It was supposed to take place in Ireland. So they did it a week early so that when they came back, they would have that week to rest before they played again. Yeah. But they canceled the Ireland trip because of COVID, right?
Right.
So, but they couldn't move the date of the game. So now it's still this late August game that really should have been, under normal circumstances, it would have been a week later. So I get like this early college football junkie thing this Saturday. So I'm very excited.
Well, we're looking for, we're optimistic, of course, with Clemson. So
Well, you're always should be.
well, they lost their quarterback though.
That's
He
true.
got drafted to the Jaguars, so they got a freshman, I think.
Yeah, but he's a 5-star recruit, so it's not like talent-wise he's not.
And then Courtney was upset because the quarterback Trevor Lawrence and his running back favorite there, Travis Etienne, both went to the Jaguars, right? Now I don't know if you heard this.
I did.
Travis is out for the year. Broke his foot.
Oh, that sucks. And it's like you have such a short shelf life when you're a running back anyway.
Yeah.
It's not the way you want to start your career.
Courtney may have mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah. But she is happy because she was bummed because she has to work Saturday, the first day of college football, September 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
She has to work from 9 to 5. When you know it, Clemson, because of their ranking, 7:30 game. So I don't even have to record it.
Oh, nice.
So she's happy.
Prime time, baby. Prime time.
Well, look, buddy, I definitely want to keep you a little longer since I was late, but I know you've got Graham at 8 and you've got an hour and a half to chill, so we'll let you do that. Any last words before we go?
I just again want to thank everybody for supporting the project. I mean, we've been talking about it the whole stream, but we can't do any of this stuff without you guys supporting us and helping out. So thank you. And if you haven't supported the campaign, please at least take a look, see if it's something that might interest you. It's kind of comics the old-fashioned way. So, which I think a lot of us are pushing that sort of vibe. So
yeah, it looks great. It looks great. I can't wait for it to be fulfilled.
Me neither.
I better get to work then.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, a couple of show notes to wrap up.
Yep.
I've got, like I said, 10 more quick flips tonight. We're going to do our show on Friday. So this was an odd show today, but that's okay. We're pushing our new comic stuff and our reviews till Friday. Tomorrow, for those of you who didn't hear, I got my quarter scale Jean Grey sideshow statue. That's why we took a trip up to Lincolnton. So I'm going to be doing an unboxing video, and then it'll find its new home in my man cave underneath my Dark Phoenix.
And because it's my channel, I can say this: that Phoenix statue is a sweet looking tushy.
It is, and it's a beautiful face. I mean, they outdid themselves this time.
I was only looking from here.
We know. We know. So hopefully I'll get an unboxing video tomorrow up and running, but I got to get all these quick flips up yet. But yep, Friday show. And then I did post in there, we are big NFL fans here. So Andy's Cowboys, Dennis's Packers. I will be wearing my cheese head. We will be starting Tuesday shows after the Monday night game. We're going to do our live streams on Tuesday, where we talk basically just NFL, because not everybody on these channels likes the NFL and vice versa.
That's right. And yes, 8 o'clock tonight on Graham Nolan's The Storytellers on his YouTube channel. You can see Aaron there. I will probably be watching. Not like I don't already know all about Aaron's career, but it's always fun. He might throw some nugget down I didn't know.
That's right. I might drop something in there for a little surprise effect. You never know.
Some truth bomb. Until then, guys, thank you for joining. Don't sign off yet, Aaron.
Nope.
And we'll see you guys, on Friday. And let's see. What is something I'd like to... These guys, our audience is so kind. Look at that. Oh, that's so nice. But more importantly, this is Dennis and ours relationship summed up in a nice little video.